quiet, you'll begin to realise it's actually the sound of the sea and the sound of the wind. And while the work here is quite, if you like, angular or architectural looking almost, they're actually, both the artists are quite influenced by nature. So I just wanted to have a little quote from Seamus Heaney that I felt when Magda started playing this one day when we walked into their studio. First of all, I'd like to say it's Magdalna Toth and Nathalie Carnec. Carnec? Carnec. Sorry, thank you very much. Beautiful accent, but I can't get it right. So are having this joint exhibition, Networks. They were kind of thrown together in an exhibition in Dunleary. Well, years ago, there's this exhibition, and they didn't have enough space for everybody, so they put artists together in couples to try and work together. They'd never met before, and then in working together, they discovered a lot of the differences and a lot of similar influences that they had. So, I mean, I just thought that was a great celebration. Finally, they got together and had a separate exhibition, which is this one, which is a celebration of their work and their meeting. And the quote I just wanted to say, first of all, was sitting on a bench in the Devil's Glen, I kind of noticed the carving on the back, one of Seamus Heaney's quotes, you probably all know it, but it's the riverbed dried up, half full of leaves, us listening to a river in the trees. And I walked into their studio space, and there they were playing with this cornucopia of ideas, as well as here they've represented this Magda's represented this cornucopia here, and the sound of the sea and the river and the trees, the wind in the trees. It just sort of came together to me, and I thought, well, okay, I've got to say that. So we just kind of start there. And thank you for inviting me to talk. I hope I don't go on too much. I won't. And I have to say something actually just at the beginning. They both thought about everything so much that Nathalie has brought wine from Bordeaux in France, where she's from, and Magda has brought the food as well, and the wine from Hungarian, the white wine here. So the French, the Hungarian, and Italian from here.
And Irish water.
So enjoy the spoils afterwards, as well as purchase the work, of course. But anyway, look, I just wanted to say that when I met them, they're both like really strong women, both mothers as well, and both have great life experiences and travels, and you can kind of see it in their work. And I can see what it's like. So I suppose this exhibition for me, looking at them and talking to you, is like, seems like a time when you can actually indulge yourselves a little bit and express your own work, express yourselves in your work. Like Nathalie, I mean, you would think we're studying at l'École des Arts in Paris.
Les Arts Déco,
Art Deco, yeah, in Paris. And then actually studied paint as well, and became really interested in colour, and then worked as a colourist for large architectural buildings and for architects and interior designers. And then 22 years later came to Ireland and started experimenting with things and with fabric. And so to remember the time when she was like buying and playing with fabrics with her mother, and sort of thought, yeah, I kind of like this, you know, and started playing with string and playing with other things, and taught herself weaving by, you know, the 4 nails in the stick thing, a larger version of that, sort of constructing her own materials. And I don't know where all this is in my notes, but so it's just wonderful then that you can see that you're not afraid to play with all the materials that you have here, and playing with the origami. You can see her painting work down the end, and you're invited to play with the pieces that are in the box underneath, because they're origami, they're fabric, they're paint, they're colour, and they have this kind of malleability and strength that she would like in her favourite man, I think is what you said to me by telling the story.
My God! How dare you!
And colour.
Anyway, this kind of, if you like, structure behind you, like where this energy of red colour pulls all these architectural structures together, and you can see the form that Nathalie is playing with. And later then, she was kind of admiring Magda's technical abilities and skills in ceramics and stuff, and Magda helped her to create these beautiful ceramic tiles down here and structured forms that you can actually see. You can imagine them really in a much larger scale. Like, both these women aren't afraid of scale. It doesn't matter how small or how large. And you can imagine their work, I think, on quite large structures as well as the small structures here that we can purchase today. So I invite you to go around afterwards and kind of look at everything. The other thing that Nathalie does really as well is to make us play with our eyes a bit. When you can see the layers of fabric that are behind things, whether it's metal or whether it's material, cloth. So and you can take a look at those there and play with that. Did you had a little film about that somewhere? Are you going to maybe introduce it later in the exhibition? And come back another day to view that. And then I suppose it kind of brings me nicely to playing with the eyes, so to speak, to Magda's work as well, where you can see the whole inside-outside thing going on. And again, it's obvious that you have huge attention to detail. Magda's from Hungary and has a background in industrial design, and you can see the engineering that goes into the work. Finally found a place, not that you didn't express yourself before. I know Magda in Hungary has worked in architectural ceramics and fabulous works in restoration as well as conservation and contemporary works. And I've seen some of them beautiful, quite large, smooth forms, some of them, and then others quite decorative, highly glazed ceramics. Yeah, and then on buildings.
I did not translate it. Eozine.
Yeah, that word eozine is.
Eozine, that is when the colors are playing, in one spot. But behind the lights, the tires, you can't see now, but do you remember that oily, many colors?
Yes. There's a particular form of ceramics, and in Hungarian it's eozine, but in English I don't know what the actual form is, but we'll discuss that later. But anyway, you'll have to remember the word eozine in Hungarian, and then we'll translate that eventually. The other thing I'd like you to do afterwards maybe is go with your phones and put the light on and play with the shadows on the work, because it's quite exciting.
Yeah.
The gallery here are fundraising eventually and hoping to get fabulous spotlights and that will show those kind of things. But for this exhibition, I invite you to interact a bit more and play with your phones on the forms and see how the shadows throw on the walls, because it's really exciting to do that. Yeah. So other people were asking about technical details of Magda's work, and I remember when I came here, when I met you first, when you came here and you were raising your young family, of which you have your daughter and your grandson here today. Congratulations. And also then finally finding time for herself in a studio that she rents down in Bray and Common Ground, and beginning to play with the clay for just her own pure satisfaction and self-development, and starting to make quite tight ball shapes, rounded shapes, and then eventually breaking it down, sort of like deconstructing nearly. And now she's come up with this fabulous way of working with clay. A lot of people are curious. It's paper clay. It's literally clay mixed with paper and rolled into little tiny pieces and constructed together in these triangular forms that extend and expand at Magda's whim, depending on what she wants to do, and also depending on the size of kiln that she has to play with. She takes these forms in their delicate way on a cushion or a pillow and takes them and then puts them into the kiln. They're fired to 1240 degrees centigrade. You have no idea what that furnace is going to do to the pieces, but she does that with no problem. Put them in and let's see what they're going to look like when they come out. And obviously you know from experimenting what they are going to look like, but at the same time sometimes the colour changes a bit in ceramics and you're not sure exactly how it's going to, or if the heat might bend it a little more, and see what happens. But it's beautiful, wonderful to see them here today. They're here, they're on the wall, the clouds on the wall, and the pieces behind kind of like a metropolis of forms and networks that are behind you there in that corner. When there's a bit more space, you'll be able to get to see them. There's no wire inside them, even though there's wire construction here, which is another material she's worked in. And here, it's lovely to see this kind of network of form and shapes, and looking through it and around it, and the different, I love the different sizes in it, so it's just, like, there's so much to say. I suppose the other thing we discussed, this is the last thing, is I asked both women, like, you know, what do they want to do for the future, or where do they see their work going? So, and Magda sort of said, well, like, I've got a cornucopia of ideas, and I just can't wait to keep working and keep going with them. And Nathalie said she'd like to experiment more with materials as well, and just extend herself and her work into the play of it and with forms. And it was just all the time, like, using their hands to show me what they wanted to do, and I was like, how am I going to describe this in the exhibition? But look, you can see the work for yourselves, and you can see how reasonable all the prices are, and you can also see one of the joys I mind about the work is that it can extend to any scale. So that was just something that I quite liked to see the work. So I'd like to declare the exhibition open.